tend to project very well. Are you guys able to hear me in the back okay? No? Okay. So if you go ahead and hit the next slide for me. Maybe?
Okay, we'll work on this here. Let's see.
Okay. The first slide was just introduction. So basically what I'm going to do is, as an overview, we're going to give an introduction to myself and my family, and then we'll talk a little bit about digital protection with things like passwords, virus protection, those sorts of things. And then I'll get into the physical protection about door screws and things of that nature that can help you secure your home much better. So go ahead, next slide, please. Okay, so on this, I've been around a long time. I started off back in the 80s. I was one of the first 3 million people on the internet, so I was in very early, now that it's 1 billion. I've been working with email and things of that nature for my whole career. And so, essentially, I just wanted to cover that. Additionally, you've heard the name the Flying Locksmiths. You're probably wondering, what is it with the Flying Locksmiths? Well, what happened is after World War II, the founder of the company was a pilot in World War II, and he came back and wanted to get his commercial license. So he started a locksmith business so that he could afford to get his flight time and things of that nature. 3 generations later, they franchised across the country. And so now I'm one of 80 different locations in all the major metropolitan areas that owns a Flying Locksmith franchise. At our location, we're primarily a commercial locksmith. We do some home. We don't really do any automotive. Next one. Oh, go back just for a second. The one thing I wanted to point out is that the digital and the physical are related. Okay, so in the digital world right now, if you go, on vacation and you end up taking a picture and you post it on Facebook, it's geolocated and it's time-stamped. So all of a sudden, if you're in Greece and you're posting a picture, somebody back here can look at that picture and tell that you're not home. And that's where your physical kicks in. Okay. Additionally, the lines are getting blurred with respect to physical and digital security from the standpoint of smart locks. So that's one of the reasons that I got into the business, is because I can marry both parts of that. Next slide. Next slide. We'll just launch into it. So basically, in your passwords, one of the key things there is don't use personal information. Don't use your kids' birthdays, names, things of that nature. Use something a little bit more difficult to guess, if you will. It's not that hard for people to create a profile on you. Additionally, recommend at least a minimum of 3 different types of passwords. One for your email. You don't want anybody taking that over. One for your financial information, and then another one for pretty much everything else, like your social media and that sort of thing. On your financial, I recommend a couple of different passwords, like one in particular for your bank, and then maybe another one for your 401ks and things of that nature. Okay. The other thing is that when you bring items into your house, like a router for your Wi-Fi, they have default passwords set up. Change those, because anybody driving by can pick up your signal and then log into your device, because they know the generic password for that device, and it's not hard to find on Google. So change it. Even your TV has a password on it nowadays. Okay, change it. They can all be the same. That's fine. Just make it. You don't want to make it easy for people. Lastly, when I start talking about having a variety of passwords, you guys are going, oh, I got to write that down and stick it on my computer so I'll remember it. Not so much. Okay. In your common browsers right now, they have password managers in them. That's a way of doing it. They're reasonably secure. The problem I have is that if I'm a bad guy out there, I'm going to write a program that's going to infiltrate one of the largest browsers out there. So I'm either going to go after Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer. I get in there, I break those passwords, I instantly have access to a lot of people across the country. Okay, so I don't necessarily like that. What I would recommend is that you go with a password safe, like RoboForm, Dashlane, or LastPass. And the reason is because these are all paid password vaults. You don't want to have a freeware password vault, okay? You want people that are actually making money because they have an invested interest in keeping your data secure. That's key, okay? If you go with a free one, you never know what's going to happen to that company. It might fold, do things like that. Bad things can happen. So it's a nice way if you have a lot of different passwords because you go to a lot of different sites. I mean, in my RoboForm, I think I have over 200 sites in there that I go to. So, next slide, please. One of the things that you want to do with your passcode is have uppercase letters, lowercase letters. You want to have numbers and symbols in there. One thing that's easy for people is you create a passphrase, something like this, where our one dog delivers 5 pizzas. It's not something that people are going to guess. And by mixing in the letters and numbers, it should be fairly easy for you to remember. Like in password, substituting the 5s for S's, 0 for O, 1 for L. You can go in and you can actually make a pretty complex password and make it much harder for it to be guessed. Next slide. So here we talk a little bit, there are different types of attacks against you. One of which is phishing. And it's very common nowadays in that you get a lot of emails where they're trying to get personal information about you so that they can log into your sites and guess your passwords and things of that nature. You have spam, which is pretty much irrelevant email that they're just trying to get you to click on, and they do a lot of other nefarious things with that if you do click through it. Trojan horse. Basically, this is a virus that when you click on it, it will download itself onto your computer and ruin your day. Okay. Spoofing. It's when people are out there, they create websites, no offense, but we'll pick on Evolve Bank for a moment. There are people out there that will take the Evolve Bank website, make a copy of it, and make it look exactly like they're dealing with Evolve Bank. They send you an email, they get you to click on it, you go there, you type in your password, and it comes up and it says password declined, or please try again. And then what they do is they send you back to the Evolve Bank website, where you then try your password again, and it logs you in. You don't think anything about it. You think, oh, I just fat-fingered it. In the meantime, what they've just done is they've captured your username and your password that you put into the spoofed site. So be careful on those kinds of things. And I'll talk more about that in just a second. Where am I at? Always keep your, I have down here that you can get Bitdefender for free. Trend Micro and these others are purchasable software. To be honest, the free ones do a pretty reasonable job, so if you don't want to spend the money, this is a place where you could do it, but I will tell you that whenever you're paying for it, you're probably going to get a better product. Okay? Go on to the next one, please. And how far along am I on time?
20 minutes.
So a little under 20 minutes.
A little under 20 minutes. Okay, so I've been going for 5. Okay, that's fine. I'm probably going to bounce through this pretty quick. Couple quick things here. Utilize your spam button in Outlook if you have Outlook as a mail client. It'll help clean up your mailbox for you as you move forward. Go ahead to the next slide because I kind of talk about those things on a graphical presentation here. If you look at the one up here at the right, you see the blue lettering there. What I did was I moved my mouse over the top of that. And what happens is you get a little dialog box that pops up and it will show you where that's going to take you. What you'll find is that sometimes these people are very clever in that they'll give you what looks to be a reasonable email address, but when you go down and you look and you mouse over, it'll show that it's sending you to China or someplace else. You'll see, I'll talk about domains in a second, but where can I get that? I don't know if you can actually see it, but what you have here is this is your domain name. You have a couple of characters here, a period, and then .bid. You're typically seeing .com and things of that nature. What happens is that this, from here to here, is where you're actually going. And you'll see other things that are preceding that. So it might say evolvebank.gdmyz.bid. The problem is that when you look at that, you're saying, oh, I'm going to Evolve Bank, when in fact you're not. You're going to a page called Evolve Bank on that website. Okay, so it's very tricky. I see it for Wells Fargo and all kinds of places out there where people, they create these these names that look like they're legitimate when in fact they're not. So you just have to be cognizant of those, right, whatever comes before the last dot, you know, like .cl or .whatever. Look at that name and make sure it's where you think you're going. Go ahead.
On the Sam's Club example, can you point to exactly where the Goober is?
Sure. Yeah, I'll talk about this, but basically, if you look, Sam's Club membership bonus, and they have Sam's Club consumer service at this, okay? This is not a Sam's Club address, okay? The other part of this is that if you start getting emails that look alike like this, notice that the sender is different, okay? And so you have to be careful of that. Or did I get the right thing?
Yeah.
Yes, it's different.
Yeah, it's different. So you just have to be cognizant of that. If you see the same emails coming from different email addresses, I'll guarantee you it's a false email. Okay? We'll go back for just a second to see if I got it. I think there was one other thing. Oh, up here. This is my wife sent this over to me. But basically, you can see it's from Jessica Edwards. Jessica Edwards is my daughter, or was, because now she's Jessica Dolan. She got married 2 years ago. But what happened is somebody grabbed, through social media or something, they figured out that Jessica Edwards belonged to Dawn Edwards. So now I get these emails from, well, it's AOL, but it's a matter of, they're sending these emails trying to get her to click on these links. Well, this link is, you know, .press. Who knows what's there? My guess is it's Trojan horse, okay, where they're trying to take over her PC or install software on it. But it's very tricky because she sees Jessica Edwards, oh, I got a message from Jess, I'll click on it. No, okay, make sure you look at the email address and that it's coming from who you think it's coming from, okay? Next slide. That was important to hit. Next one. So public Wi-Fi. Be very, very careful here, okay? And I'll tell you why. When you hook your PC up to the local internet there, what you're doing is that traffic is not necessarily protected. If you're logging into it and that sort of thing, they might give you a more secure connection. They might encrypt your data as they transfer from your PC to the Wi-Fi. However, if they don't know what they're doing and they just kind of slap the router in place and you connect to it, somebody can sit down in the Starbucks next to you with their laptop and they can have a piece of software called a sniffer. Okay, the sniffer actually captures packets. Okay, that's getting a little technical, but the data that's sent from your PC to the router to be sent out into the internet, it can capture every one of those pieces of information. And if it's not encrypted, it'll be readable, which means any password you type in, anything of that nature, is instantly visible to them, along with any other pertinent information you might be typing in. So I just recommend, if you have to connect to it, make sure it's one that you need to log into because they typically have a little more security. My recommendation is use your cell phone's Wi-Fi. If you have a tethering software in your phone, that's a much better way to go. It costs you a little bit more for your data possibly, but you'll be a lot more protected. Okay. Bluetooth, it was interesting. When I was at GE, one of the security guys was in the room and they were giving me a presentation on email and stuff. And he popped up a screen that showed everybody's phone in the audience that had Bluetooth turned on and didn't have security set up. And so it was a matter of, he could, with a little bit of skill and that sort of thing, you could actually hack into people's phone and grab whatever's on there. Okay, and if you think about what you're putting on your phone nowadays, it's considerable. So if you're in a place where there's a lot of people and it's easy for them to sit and grab information, be aware of that. You might just turn off your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth if you're not using it. Just be aware. Let's see, next slide. Okay, this is important. HTTPS is your friend. Okay, so when you look at your browser bar up at the top, you'll see that it says HTTP:. It doesn't have the S there. What that means is that it's not a secure website. And by secure, what happens is that most legitimate companies will go ahead and sign up and get a certificate that allows them to issue a secure website. So it's encrypted from your PC to the browser. It protects that communication. So if you don't see the S, just know that you may not want to put a bunch of information in there that you don't want people to see. Additionally, you'll end up seeing, I thought I had a picture of it, but you'll end up seeing a little lock up there too, if it's secure. It doesn't guarantee it, but it's a high probability that it's a secure site if they do that. And the reason is because most criminals don't care enough to go up. They're going to get enough people without having to spend the money to get that. Okay. Plus, the other part of it is it leaves a paper trail for people to find them and convict them if they do something. If you get an email and it has a link there and it has a little lock next to it, go somewhere else. The reason I'm telling you that is because nothing inside of an email has anything to do with that lock. Okay? The lock is only valuable if it's up there next to the HTTPS. Okay? That's the only place it's valuable. If it's in an email, it means they're trying to lure you into a sense of confidence. Okay? Let's see. Two-factor authentication. Right now, when you get into, you'll start seeing more and more of this. And what's happening is websites are starting to have a separate authentication for you. So you log in and it says, great, to proceed, look at your cell phone and we just sent a code to it. You get the code and then you type in the code and you can get in. It's a great way of doing it because most of the time, even if a hacker has your password, he doesn't have your cell phone. Okay? Let's move on. I'm trying to get to the physical here, but social media. You guys have probably heard all of this before, but basically be careful on what you're posting out on social media. The other key thing there is look at your privacy settings. Make sure that you're posting to the people you want to be posting to, because it's very easy to post to the entire world. The thing that I've told my kids and everybody else for a long time is the internet mirrors the world. There are alleyways and streets that you do not want to go down. There are bad places in the world. Be careful of them. The internet is the same way. You can quickly and easily get into a place that you don't want to be. So be careful of what you post. Next. And I'll have to cover that another time. Go on. We need to get to physical protection because there's a couple things I have to show you. If you're hiring a locksmith or actually any licensed professional in the state of Tennessee, this website is your friend. It's called verify.tn.gov. You go there and you can put in locksmith firm for the profession. You can also put in architect, okay, and find the licensed architects. You can put in a zip code, which is what I've done here, and if you'll notice, it's really blurry, but locksmith company, TD Hold Incorporating, doing business as the Flying Locksmith LLC, or I'm sorry, Inc. That's my origin date and that sort of thing. So you can see that the state recognizes me as a legitimate locksmith. Next slide. When you do a Google search, or I'm sorry, a Bing search in this case, on the Bing Maps, 9 different locksmith firms show up in the 38119 zip code. You saw that only 1 is registered in that zip code. So the other 8 aren't there, okay? That's how bad the number of illegal locksmiths are. Now you will see that one of them, 901 Locksmiths, is registered here, or shows up on Bing Maps. They're actually located down here in a different zip code, and they've manipulated something that put them up in this zip code. They are a licensed locksmith firm. Be careful of these guys, but bottom line is make sure that whoever you're hiring is legitimate, okay? Because it's, I mean, I went out to Google and did a search, and 6 out of the 7 paid advertisers were illegal. So, next slide. Can you click on this real quick? And I'm going to turn down the volume over here because I'm going to just talk to it. This was done in Texas, and go ahead and click this one as well. This was done in Texas, and they had the fire department come out and kick in this door. It took this guy 3 kicks to open that door. This one, we'll talk about, but basically, it took 12 kicks. And just watch the video, but this technique did not fail. It's a different thing that failed. What I have up here are 3-inch screws for you. Has my business card and a magnet in there too, but this is what you do. Put 3-inch screws in your latch and also in your deadbolt plates, and at least 1 screw in your hinge, okay? Because if you, oh, I missed it. But basically, when this door failed after 12 kicks, it didn't fail where they put in the 3-inch screws. It failed on the hinge side where they only had the little 3/4-inch screws. Even though there are 12 of them in there, it still broke through. By putting in the 3-inch screws, you're going into 2 different studs in the wall. And so for them to kick it out, they've got to break 2 studs. Big deal, okay? Next slide.
Now, do you do that if you come out there and you're working on locks? Is that part of your service?
It's not, or I can. We don't typically do it because we try not to touch anything that we're not told to touch.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
But we can invite you out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also, there are things called jam reinforcers. So if you're worried about your door getting kicked in, this is a metal strip you put in there. Your bolts go into here. It's like having extra screws on your door strikes. Additionally, on windows, I do not recommend this type of a lock on your windows, because if there's a fire, you're not getting out because you're never going to know where your key's at, okay? A thumb screw or a board, or it doesn't have to be a board, it can be just a dowel rod, something that would prevent people from moving it up. Additionally, you could put a nail, just drill a little hole, put a nail in there, anything that will prevent the window from going up, okay? Next slide. Okay, I'm going to pass this around, but this is a Quickset lock, and they have smart key technology, and you'll see a little hole there. And what this is for rapidly rekeying your lock. Thank you. Be very skeptical of this technology, and it's not that I have a problem with Quickset, they make some fine locks. This particular implementation, in order to make it work, they went very cheap. They originally came out with plastic parts in there. Now they've switched to pot metal, which isn't much better. 2 days ago, I took a screwdriver, Craftsman screwdriver, stuck it into that lock with a pair of vice grips, and I was able to turn it and unlock it, okay, with a screwdriver, okay? That's how cheaply made it is. And they had a knob set like this with the Quickset, and this isn't one, but I was able to take a hammer and with 2 blows, remove the knob and reach in there with a screwdriver and open the latch. It was simply because I was testing out my theory that they were junk, and they are. So if you have those on your house, just be aware that it's not offering you the protection that you believe it is.
Does it need to be brass inside of it or metal?
It's better if you have metal inside. There are different grades of locks. If you go to the next slide, yeah. They have different grades of locks out there, grade 1, 2, and 3. 1 is typically commercial. I mean, you can put 300 pounds of pressure on a lever and not break it. For a residential, they don't actually have to be any grade. So some of them you can just go up and knock them off pretty easy. But just be aware that the locks that you're buying in Home Depot, if you're buying the cheap ones, you're getting what you're paying for. Okay, so just being aware. Now, only 2 to 3% of homes get broken into in a year, so your odds are pretty good, and you're probably living in a good neighborhood. So you're only keeping the good guys out, which is fine. So, and then the last thing, because I have a feeling she's going to show me the 1 minute here any second, is we do, excellent. I recommend a safe for your valuables. And the reason is because, and probably a fireproof safe, because you want to keep your passport, your birth certificate, things of that nature secure. Because if people break into your house and they happen to run across that information, identity theft can be done much easier if they have your birth certificate, social security card, and your passport. Okay, so just think through that. You probably want fireproof so that your paper doesn't burn up. If you just have a regular old metal safe, the temperature in there will get to a point where it'll burn up.